What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple Newtype, and in this episode, we are diving into the manga Mobile Suit Gundam Battlefield Record UC0081, The Wrath of Varuna. This manga is based off of the PS3 video game of the same name. Kotoki also takes Kunio Kawada's old designs and gives them the Ver-Ka treatment. This story follows the Phantom Sweep team and the Invisible Knights, as Zeon remnants try to unleash Operation Wrath of Varuna. Let's not waste any time, and let's get into this. The Phantom Sweeps team begins their mission. Hughes Corrand launches in the 7th Gundam. The RX-78-7 7th Gundam is the 7th Gundam of the RX-78 line, and a part of the second series of Project V. After the SFWS plan, the 7th Gundam's full armor options were built from the ground up. The generator on this unit has a higher output than the first 6 Gundams. It also has sub-generators in the arms, so it doesn't suffer a loss of power even when in full armor mode. This has a panoramic cockpit and magnetic coating. This unit is on par with Alex Gundam. Weapons include 60mm Vulcans, a beam saber, the XBR H-80 L1 beam rifle, a hyper bazooka, a grenade launcher, beam guns in the forearms, a 100mm machine gun, and a shield. The one-year war has come to an end. Even though a treaty has been signed, people still fight. The Phantom Sweeps team is a cleanup crew that puts an end to all the fighting. The pilot of the 7th Gundam is Hughes Corrand. He wakes up from a bad dream. With him is Liang Mao. It has been months since the one-year war has ended. Hughes is just looking for a glorious way to die. She breaks up with him since his thoughts are always in the past. He also has just been transferred to a special unit. After the war, there was a drastic downsize in the Federation. Unlike World War II, one-year war veterans found themselves unemployed, causing a lot of gangs to pop up on Earth. To see what the poverty was like post-war, go check out our coverage of Gundam Katana. The commander of the Phantom Sweeps unit is Brigadier General Godwin Durrell. Hughes will be in command of a small unit. Major Mao is also on the team. Awkward. She says, "Listen here, while we are on duty, we are colleagues and nothing more." He meets Lieutenant Hugh Carter and Sherry Allison. Hughes and Hugh. I know people have similar names in real life, but this isn't real life. You don't have to do this. Hugh said he punched an officer, now he is stationed here. Sherry was a test pilot at Augusta Labs. She is a rookie with no experience in war. Hugh teases her. The team heads out in GEM commands with Mao in a hover truck. They are casting a wide net with multiple companies sweeping the Rocky Desert Zone in Africa. Suddenly, they are attacked by Zeon remnants. Hughes suggests they fall back, but Godwin says that this isn't an option. He wonders if Hughes is trying to flee, hinting at his past. They are going to hold the rear guard and focus on protecting HQ in a big trade class. 3 units converge on their location. They decide to move forward and rush before flanking the rest of the remnants. Hugh handles business. They take out the remaining soldiers. But Godwin says this mission is a failure because the enemy knew they were coming. He suggests they have a spy amongst their ranks. Meanwhile, in Odessa, the Federation is working on a Zeon mobile suit that was acquired from Makuve after he abandoned Earth. Eric Blank is looking at a pendant and asks former comrades to guide him. He and his wingmen, Alos and Fritz, move in. He says that they hold onto the hope of the Wrath of Varuna. He said the name of the manga. Several hours earlier, cliché. This is the Invisible Knights. Glory was never given to them, but now is their chance. Augusta Base. Hugh doesn't like working with Hughes. His logic is that aces get thrown into battle more than others, and it is only a matter of time until they get killed. They are about to drop onto Odessa where Zeon is moving in. Their mission is to focus on seizure of weapons. The team hasn't had too much downtime and cracks are starting to show. The Phantom Sweep team begins their drop mission. Eric enters a hangar with his Zaku-1 and finds a Zeon mobile suit. He gets out of his mobile suit and gets into the Efreet Schneid. The MS-08TXN Efreet Schneid is a modified close combat version of the Efreet. Schneid means night in German. This is designed for stealth missions and night combat. This mobile suit has a jamming system which jams radars, IFF, heat sensors, and sound detection. This unit has a new backpack with the retractable thrusters and added thrusters on the legs. Its main weapon is a cold blade which avoids heat detection and has anti-beam coating, and can wield 2 at a time. The Efreet also has the cold kunai, which releases an electrical shock when thrown. Other weapons include a triple Gatling gun and a 90mm machine gun. The Zeon remnants fall back, but they get a message regarding Zeon taking over a hangar. The team moves in to find the Efreet Schneid. Their sensors don't pick up the mobile suit's IFF. Sherry heard rumors of this mobile suit. It has strong jamming capabilities. They wonder why EFF was maintaining this mobile suit on this base. Eric throws a cold kunai at Hughes' face. The Efreet plays with the 3 GEM commands. He gets word of reinforcements coming, so Eric decides to retreat. Aquatic Zeon mobile suits attack Belfast. The Phantom Sweep team moves in to help. Hughes is upset that they didn't run into the Efreet. They pull back to resupply. The chief mechanic happens to be Bob Rock. During the one-year war, Bob Rock helped out with the White Dingoes in Australia, and he saw the colony drop happen with his own eyes. Hughes gives him 30 minutes to get his mobile suit back up and running. Hughes smacks the ass of a nurse. Mao tells the general that Zeon remnants were able to attack an undisclosed weapons facility, confirming they do indeed have a spy. Mao is listening in on Hughes and Sherry's conversation. She then gets intel that 2 Jukons are moving in. Hughes wants to move out, but their mobile suits aren't ready. He launches anyways. Mao thinks he is too obsessed with the Efreet. He has a hyper bazooka as shell weapons are useless underwater. He dives down where he runs into a Begro. Hughes is starting to understand why Mao calls him reckless. He fires his hyper bazooka, but it does nothing. It takes him some time, but he eventually stabs and destroys the Begro. Hughes heads back to the surface. Christo meets with Eric regarding the Efreet Noct. He mentions that Christo's sister was like a sister to Eric. Bob Rock tells Hughes to come with him. He shows him the G-Line light armor. The RX-81LA G-Line light armor is a light config variant for the G-Line and based on the GEM light armor. This unit is very mobile and is used by ace pilots. This focuses on speed and mobility. It has a unique head sensor and blade antenna. It can optionally equip a parachute pack for drop missions. Weapons include 60mm Vulcans, a beam saber, a large caliber rifle, a pair of missile launchers, an assault cannon, the Gatlin Smasher, and a shield. We discussed the original G-Lines and 0083 Rebellion. The General helped get this mobile suit on their team. EFF is going to use this opportunity to collect data. In the past, Eric, Christo, and Tatiana listened to Tycoon talk about independence when they were younger. They eventually all enlisted in the military. In UC 0079, the Invisible Knights weren't able to carry out Operation Wrath of Varuna as the war came to a close. He became a Zeon remnant and continued resisting. The Invisible Knights' time has finally come. Commander Otto Eichmann tells them to proceed to a jungle base. We meet the entire Invisible Knights team: Fritz Bauer, Alois Bade, Hilda Nietzsche, Gusta Abel, and Philene Estelle. They drop down from Gauss. The Phantom Sweep team is on the move. The Invisible Knights shoot down a core booster. Eric spots Hughes' team. He recognizes their emblem, but he doesn't know what this new mobile suit is. The Efreet Noct runs in and attacks Hughes. Their comms are acting weird due to Efreet's jamming system. As they fight, Hugh pushes in too far. Mao tells Sherry to take a shot, but she hesitates. Eric hears Sherry's name over the comms, and he seems to know her. Sherry shoots, taking down Fritz. The Invisible Knights retreat. Eric says they will fulfill the Wrath of Varuna. Mao tells Hughes and his team to stand down. Hughes tries to talk to Sherry about what happened on the battlefield when they are interrupted by their new teammates. Joining them is Rob Hartley, Kamal Kumari, and Jamie Carmona. Maybe Jaime? Nah, bro looks too white to be a Jaime. Mao summons Hughes. She says what she is about to tell him stays in this room. They are currently investigating Sherry as they believe she is the spy. Hughes can't believe it. In her quarters, Sherry is tormented. Zeon sneaks into an EFF base in New York City and begins attacking. Remember, it isn't New York in Universal Century. It's New York. You gotta put some cheddar on it. The Phantom Sweeps team is going to take out the Zeon remnants, but they are only going to send in their team alone. The top brass doesn't want a full-scale invasion as it would break the illusion that the war is over. Hughes can't stop thinking about General Godwin telling him about Sherry. Hugh tells Hughes that New York is his home. He went there after the war only to find rubble. Then he saw Hughes on the news being treated as a hero. He hated him in that moment, but now that he is his commander, he can see that he is just a soldier like everyone else, and he lets those feelings go. They head out in 2 teams. Hughes' team will consist of Sherry and Kamal, while Hughes' team will be Rob and Jamie. Why are you doing this to me, Manga? This is confusing. The Phantom Sweeps moves in on the Zeon remnants. They try to box in Zaku's, but are flanked by Magellan attack tanks. Jamie snipes in a GEM Sniper Custom while Robert is rocking a fan favorite, the GEM Striker. Zeon begins retreating, so Hughes' team chases them. Hughes tells him to pull back, but they don't listen. Hughes goes to chase Hugh. Ugh. We flash back to the past and learn that Sherry is Tatiana. She is the one that gave Eric the pendant. The team seems to be taken aback by fighting against their former comrade. One says that she is probably feeling the burden more than any of them. No, I think that would be Fritz who just got blown up. It doesn't matter. Everything is for the Wrath of Varuna. Meanwhile, Hughes moves out. He has no intention of losing another comrade again. Operation 41, also known as the Operation to Take Back California Base. Remember, California Base is a series of bases on the West Coast, but the West Coast in this situation includes half of Canada, half of USA, and all of Mexico. Zeon never ventured too far south because of Jaburo and Brazil. Hughes helped with the push, which started in New York and continued all the way to California over a long period of time. It eventually turned into a stalemate once they reached California, somewhere near Mount Shasta. Hughes and his squad has been fighting for over a month. He has been piloting the RGM-79S. This is the GEM Spartan. Just kidding, I think this is a typo on the translator's part, and it should be the RGM-79G or the RGM-79GS, which is the commander type or the commander space type that we do see later. Gyms and gym cannons move in. Hughes has been leading a charge and getting a lot of glory. One commander doesn't seem to like that. He summons Hughes to his Heavy Fort class ship. The Heavy Fort class ship is one of the weirder retcons in Universal Century. What do you mean they had a bunch of ships as big as the Big Trey class and twice the firepower? Hughes is in enemy territory and they have to be vigilant or they will be flanked on all sides. It isn't the best time to be visiting HQ. He gives command to one of his underlings and heads out in a fan-fan. He has a bad feeling about this moment. Hughes meets with Commander Monocle, who thanks and informs him that they are committing the entire force to pushing through the hole in Zeon's front that Hughes created. If we look at a map of California, this point is where Hughes penetrated Zeon's forces. Hughes tells Commander Monocle that this is a bad idea and premature. The commander says this is why your forces are going to act as bait. They tell him to know his place in the chain of command. As he heads back into Medea, his comrades inform him that they are being flanked on all sides. This is exactly why he shouldn't have left in the first place. Luckily, he has his mobile suit with him. The comms are filled with his comrades giving up hope. He drops down in a gym command. He comes in to help, but he is too late. His entire team is slaughtered. It took the Federation another 2 weeks before they were able to completely take back control of California Base. To cover up just how many deaths there were on the battlefield, they promoted Hughes and made him a hero. This is why he led his men to slaughter, and why he is kept up all night with his nightmares. We return to the present in New York. They are overwhelmed and they should pull back, but Godwin rejects this and orders them to hold the line. Hughes doesn't want his men to be slaughtered like in the past. They use the power of teamwork to take down the forces. On a private channel, Mao tells Hughes perhaps this will calm down the nightmares. Suddenly, one Zaku gets up. Everyone was able to fire on the Zaku, but it was able to get a few shots off, hitting Q. At that moment, Godwin gives them a new mission. Zeon remnants are making big moves. This isn't like the Zeon guerrillas they have been fighting. This is something bigger and more coordinated. Eric states that Operation Wrath of Varuna is in full effect. Hughes is still breathing. They get a medic. The attack that happened at New York was coordinated. Many other cities were hit at the same time. The Phantom Sweeps worked with regional forces to snuff out Zeon remnants, but it seemed like they were one step ahead of the Federation. Morale has been low since they lost Hugh, who succumbed to his wounds. Oh good, now I don't have to confuse Hugh and Hughes. Godwin tells Hughes of Operation Wrath of Varuna. They know it's a continent-wide operation, but unsure what it is. Hughes heard this on the radio as well. Their goal seems to be to wipe out their radars, which is their eyes in the sky. Their next target is Augusta Base, and it may involve nukes. The Phantom Sweep's mission is to directly handle any nuclear threat. The commander tells them to watch after Sherry. Now would be her time to attack. Hughes believes in his people, but this idealism will get more people killed, just like last time. Rob Hartley asks Hughes if he could use Sherry's G-line. He says that Sherry is always hesitating and doesn't seem to take action. Even Rob could see something is up with Sherry, but Hughes yells at him and tells him to have more faith in his comrades. Sherry has a sexy sad shower. She flashes back to her and Eric talking about shooting stars. Hughes comes and talks to her. He wants her on his rear guard in the upcoming mission. She blurts out that she is Zeon. Hughes says, "Did you say something?" "Nope, I didn't say anything. Good night." The Invisible Knights begin their attack on Augusta Base's radar systems. Tatiana/Sherry should be linking up with them at any moment, but she hasn't. Eric wants to go find her, but they have to focus on their mission at hand. There is one more radar installation that the Invisible Knights must take down. They are able to take out all but one. The ground mobile suits won't make it in time, so the GAL will handle it. Hughes spots the GAL and realizes it's a suicide bombing. There are probably nukes on board. They need to run away from the potential nuclear blast, but Hughes rushes in. Hughes gets a shot on the GAL, but it helps crash into Augusta. It explodes, but it isn't a nuclear explosion. Sherry says that something bigger is coming. She admits that she is a spy. Hughes shoots down her sensors, deactivating her mobile suit. Filene counts down, but once it reaches 0, nothing happens. Something must have happened with the lunar fleet. The Invisible Knights fire a retreat flare. Operation Wrath of Varuna is a failure. Augusta has been secured. It seems the intel about the nukes were a diversion. Luckily, they could rebuild the radar systems. Hughes asks if Sherry is being treated fairly in jail. Mao says, "Yep, she sure is." Cut to Sherry getting a palm to the face. She was able to infiltrate EFF the same way Shar joined EFF. She took one of the millions of names of MIA soldiers during the 1-year war. They know she is the one leaking intel and gets smacked around more. They tell her they took out their lunar forces swiftly. She says there is a bigger leak that isn't her. Sherry says she will tell everything, but only to Hughes. Eric finally gets intel that their lunar team was wiped out. He wonders why his comrades have to die for absolutely nothing. They decide that the Invisible Knights must go to space. Mao briefs the Phantom Sweeps. They have a lunar weapon that seems to be able to take out cities with ease. Their first test was going to be Augusta Base. They know any remaining remnants will be trying to get back into space. Their mission is to prevent that from happening. Hughes thinks back to his conversation with Sherry. She is conflicted and doesn't know where she stands anymore, especially after killing her own comrades. The Invisible Knights are fighting their way towards an HLV. The Phantom Sweeps team is meeting up with the South Asian and African forces to take down the Zeon remnants. The base they are trying to take over has 3 functional HLVs. Robert Hartley is now using Sherry's old G-Line. He added some new armor to the unit, designating this mobile suit the G-Line Assault Armor. The RX-81 G-Line Assault Armor is a variant of the G-Line that utilizes the armor from the Gem Striker. This allows it the hardpoints to equip a drum-like backpack that gives it an extra boost. The G-Line armor seen in 0083 Rebellion is built off of this variant. This mobile suit focuses on close range. Weapons include Vulcans, a beam saber, a shotgun, the Gatling Smasher, a pair of missile launchers built into the backpack, an assault cannon, and an assault shield. Mao reminds them that the more ground Zeon loses, the less they have to lose. They are getting desperate and their desperation can be dangerous. Outside of Sherry's cell, something goes down. The door opens to reveal the nurse is also a Zeon spy. Her real name is Yuri. Sherry wants to stay, but Yuri says that isn't an option and drags her out of there. She tells Sherry that the Wrath of Varuna is still in full effect. All efforts are now put into getting the Invisible Knights into space. They steal a saberfish and take off. At the base, Hughes and his team have taken out one of the HLVs. Eric and his team has to pull back even though he wants to fight Hughes. Christo tells him that the Efreet is useless in space and he will have to leave it behind. He is also staying behind to find his sister Tatiana/Sherry. Because of this, he will pilot the Efreet to protect them. The saberfish boosts into the stratosphere and dives down towards the base. The Phantom Sweeps takes down the HLVs, but something doesn't seem right to Hughes. The saberfish comes to the base to see the HLV wreckage. It is suddenly shot down by a Zamel? Wow, you don't see the Zamel too often. The two eject. Sherry is able to find Bob Rock, who lets her help, even though she is the spy. Hughes finds out that there is a 4th HLV. Zeon also self-destructs the base. That is when Hughes approaches the Efreet knocked. It is Christo. Every HLV was a decoy to distract them from this final HLV. Jamie and Robert's legs are pinned down and they can't move. Hughes fights the Efreet. He realizes the pilot is slower than before. Christo is fighting with nothing to lose. He rushes Hughes, who cuts his left arm, but he swings his right arm with the cold kunai. Suddenly, Sherry tackles the Efreet. She apologizes to Eric, but realizes it is her brother. The two fall into the base, which then self-destructs. The HLV takes off and Eric yells out for Christo. Even though she was a spy, the team is bummed out after losing Sherry. The Phantom Sweeps are to return to Augusta Base immediately. They head to the base where Godwin shows them the Thoroughbred. This is the ship used by Ford and Luce during the One-Year War. Now it will be used by Hughes. Not only that, he has been assigned the 7th Gundam to help take down the Zeon remnants. Hughes doesn't think that he deserves a Gundam after all his failures. He hears the voices of Hugh and Sherry saying they're counting on him. The Phantom Sweeps team launches. In space, a Papua-class ship picks up Eric and what remains of the Invisible Knights. Everyone is bummed about the loss of both Christo and Tatiana. Eric sent out a request for the Delaz fleet to help out in Operation Wrath of Varuna. Delaz can't provide any forces to the Invisible Knights, but he and Gata wish them luck. They also deliver a gift to help their cause. It happens to be a Gelgoog high mobility type. These units are beasts. Check out our coverage of Johnny Ryden for more on this unit. Annie Breivik is still stationed on the Thoroughbred. She's configuring the 7th Gundam with its full armor loadout. Bob Brock says, I know my man Hughes, and he would be better suited for a standard loadout. Annie says, bitch, I was the mechanic on units 4 and 5 during the One-Year War. I'm the better video game side character than you. Annie mentions that they are still testing the mobility correction recalibration. The two mechanics argue back and forth when a red alert goes off. Hughes launches in 7th Gundam for the first time. This is the Full Armor 7th Gundam. The FA-78-3 Full Armor 7th Gundam is the heavy armor variant of the 7th Gundam. This has built-in sub-generators and propellants to prevent a decrease in performance with the additional weight. It is optimized for offensive attacks. The tail booster greatly improves the unit's ambac system. Weapons include 60mm Vulcans, a beam saber, a long-range beam cannon, 2 quadruple missile pods in the chest, a triple missile pod in each shin, micro missiles, the XBR H-80L1 beam rifle, a hyper bazooka, a twin beam spray gun, a twin grenade launcher, and a shield. A Beagro is leading the pack of Zeon remnants. Hughes thinks the controls are a bit sluggish, which is why he is a guinea pig collecting data in the first place. They take out a Dom. Hughes feels like he is fighting the controls. That is when the Beagro attacks from behind. The Beagro takes out Hughes' beam rifle. It grabs the Gundam and picks up speed. He is trying to make Hughes pass out, just like the Beagro did to Amado in the original series. But unlike Amado, Hughes has a giant cannon on his back. He fires at point-blank range, destroying the Beagro, but causing damage to the Gundam. This is due to the mobility correction recalibration. Are you sure it wasn't because you just fired a giant cannon right next to your face? Bob Rock and Annie continue arguing when Hughes returns to the ship. This is why Annie added the full armor loadout to compensate for the mobility correction recalibration. But Bob Rock says, "My boy doesn't enter the mobile suit until you take this new system off." I wish I could find someone who would love me as much as Bob Rock loves Hughes. That's true love right there. Hughes and Robert Hartley have been running tests non-stop, but they get the same results. The 7th Gundam is too sluggish. Bob tells Hughes that the 7th is a dead end, and to change mobile suits. Mao is trying to get authorization on the mobility correction recalibration program, but the higher-ups seem to have pulled it. The captain of the Thoroughbred doesn't have any interest in contesting this. It seems having a spy within their ranks is causing issues, and EFF are trying to sweep as much of it under the rug. Mao tells the team it looks like the Gundam is dead. Bob Rock and Annie have an idea to build something from the ground up. Hughes thinks it looks like a mobile armor. Mao will help get this approved. She puts a lot of blame on herself for Sherry's actions. Hughes thinks to himself that it isn't anyone's fault. It is the war itself that filters people towards the end of a barrel. A mass driver system on the moon is attacked. They don't say where, but it is civilian-owned and has the unsympathizers, so we could definitely rule out Air City. It is the Invisible Knights. They are trying not to attack the mass driver system and is focusing on Federation forces. Eric is in the Gelgoog high mobility type. Hughes is trying so hard to hold on to the Gundam because this is what Sherry was testing while at Augusta Labs. But this is also why the Gundam is failing. Sherry sabotaged all this from the start, and it is the reason the Federation is trying to diminish any of their contributions. Hughes is having a crisis of conflict and wonders what he is fighting for. He wishes Sherry was here. Mao tries to get the captain to intercept the Zeon remnants, but he isn't diverting forces. She suggests she let their new full armor conversion go out as it can function as a battleship. For some reason they allow this. Bob and Annie have the loadout ready to go. Hughes launches in the heavy full armor Gundam. The HFA 78-3 heavy full armor 7th Gundam is designed to function as a fleet of 1 and can carry out assaults with heavy firepower. This is inspired by the original FSWS plan used on the original full armor Gundam. It has a long-range megaparticle cannon with the firepower of a Musai cannon. This has a larger generator, additional verniers, and additional fuel tanks to compensate for its size. Other weapons include 60mm Vulcans, a beam saber, a hand beam gun, 2 8-tube missile launchers on the back, a quad missile launcher, a 3-tube missile pod on each shoulder, a cannon on the skirt, the XBR H-80L1 beam rifle, a hyper bazooka, an optional twin beam spray gun, an optional twin grenade launcher, and a shield. Mao snaps at the captain and tells him that not everyone is trying to cover their own ass. Hughes rushes towards the Musai. The captain is taking advantage of the fact that they are on the dark side of the moon and can't get a hold of Command HQ on Earth, so Mao can't file a complaint. Bob Hartley reminds Mao not to overstep command during a mission. They suddenly get a laser comm from Earth. It is General Godwin. He reminds the captain of his power by flexing the fact that he is working with Granada to send an LCS out to his ship, which is in an area where no one gets messages. Godwin just said, "I hear everything, bitch." He authorizes full use of the mobility correction recalibration. Unfortunately, this order came too late, and the 7th Gundam is currently on the battlefield. At the last moment, Izaku grabs the Gundam. Hughes fires and still hits the Musai-class ship. He then takes care of the Zaku with ease. After the ship is destroyed, Hughes purges the Gundam's armor. Mao gets word that Hughes accomplished his mission, but also, the mass driver system fell to the Invisible Knights. Godwin tells Mao that they received new intel on Operation Wrath of Varuna. Hughes lands and learns of this new authorization with the Gundam. Mao orders Hughes to hold her. Eric and his team have taken full control of the mass driver system and operations are running on time. They're loading a projectile onto the mass driver system. Rolf seems to be having second thoughts, but this decision was made the moment they went into space. We flash back to them all wanting to head to space, understanding the circumstances. They only have one round, but that should be enough. Their target is Augusta Labs. The Phantom Sweeps receives intel that they are attacking Augusta, and they only have one round. This particular mass driver is the only one that can launch things straight into Earth's orbit, which is then collected by what is called a mass catcher. Hughes wonders why this intel is just now coming in, and who Godwin's source is. She says that this intel is classified, but she knows who it is and is shocked herself. Hughes overhears Annie talk about how rare it is to see a pilot push a mobile suit to its limits nowadays. Annie never knew the former pilot, Sherry. She just knows that she was a spy. The giant projectile is ready for launch. I'm pretty sure this is just a giant chunk of lunar titanium that they are planning on launching into Earth. Eric looks at his charm given by Tatiana, and he hopes this is all worth it. He then thinks of Fritz and Christo. They went through officer training school together. He remembers the first time they are shown the Zaku 2. He and his comrades are preparing for the war that is about to come to Earth. Eric eventually graduated and became a mobile suit pilot. He is one day summoned by a commander to carry out a top secret mission. Tatiana happens to be assigned to this mission with Eric. He is able to form his own team and creates the Invisible Knights to carry out Operation Wrath of Varuna. However, the war took a turn and they never enacted their plan after Solomon failed, and they shifted their focus to a Bawaku. Eric knew that Tatiana wanted this war to end swiftly, with as few casualties as possible. The Wrath of Varuna will make Tatiana's wishes come true. Hell yeah, using loved ones' wishes to justify your actions. UC 0079, a Bawaku. The Invisible Knights are defending their HQ. Eric hopes the people on the moon are doing their part. December 29th, 2 days earlier. This is a flashback and a flashback. Eric gets word that the Fetties plan on attacking a Bawaku and not Granada. High Command wants him to run defense. If a Bawaku falls, they won't be able to carry out their mission, so they must help. He is given a squad of 16-year-olds who don't have any real-world experience. This is looking grim, but they have to carry out their mission on the moon regardless. They decide to attack Augusta and hope their plan can be enacted while also supporting a Bawaku. Tatiana decides to move ahead of schedule and go undercover as a Federation officer so she can work for Augusta Labs. She now will go by the name Sherry. We return to the conversation between Tatiana/Sherry and Eric talking about shooting stars. She says one nation called this the Wrath of Varuna, which is where they got the name for this mission. In the midst of the battle, Eric spots the Zeon launching. He learns it belongs to Caecilia's forces and notes that it doesn't have any legs. Eric leads the charge with his children's squad. The Zeon handles business on the battlefield. Eric's child soldiers begin panicking when they start seeing dead bodies. He tells his men to get back. A gun cannon rushes in and attacks Eric's Gelgoog. He wards it off, but then the Gundam comes on the battlefield. The Gundam attacks Eric and Christo. Luckily, the Zeon rushes in, allowing Eric's men to pull back. Eric tows Christo's busted Zaku. As they return to their ship, the crew has already been informed of Zeon's surrender. After hearing of this, Eric decides to regroup with his people. They don't enact Operation Wrath of Varuna. The Principality has once again become a republic, and Zeon soldiers are to lay down arms. They regroup at the moon. Eric's men don't know what their next move should be. Tatiana is already spying on the Federation at Augusta Labs. They will follow suit and head to Earth. UC 0080, January 3rd. The Papua-class ship launches Eric's team down to Earth right as the ship is being intercepted by a Federation Salamis. They drop down onto Africa with plans of meeting up with some remnants nearby. The Invisible Knights have to get moving as a team will search this area soon. Christo is still injured from the attack by the Gundam. They head out in jeeps to search for other Zeon remnants. Some are struggling with the weight of gravity. They reach a bunch of dead ends as they stumble onto a bunch of abandoned bases. The team had to learn to deal with pests for the first time ever. No ants in colonies. What a dream. While they are being chased by a gym, they run into Zeon forces resisting. Eric meets Commander Eichmann, and they commit his forces to Operation Wrath of Varuna. This is when Phylene joins the team as a comms operator. Eric notes that she is trembling. This will be her first time on the front lines and is nervous. Phylene provides intel that Tatiana is safe. She also has data on the 7th Gundam. They start making their way towards North America. He clasps his pendant given by Tatiana. We return to the present where they are prepping the mass driver system. They begin their countdown. Mao briefs the team. They have about 2 hours before launch. Hughes will lead the team. Many hope he doesn't lose his men like in the past. Mao believes they are more than capable. Robert Hartley tries to calm Hughes down by telling him he too lost men during the Battle of Baoku. We flash back once again to the battle. A Columbus is resupplying a Salamis-class ship when a squad of Grublos come in. The two ships were ripped apart in the process, losing all of his men and his ship. Rob and the other men don't care about his past. They just care about the now. They all salute each other before heading out. At that same time, the Invisible Knights too also make moves. Mao thinks back to the briefing. She tells the team that they can't attack the mass driver system or the facility. They can only target Zeon remnants. Because the base turrets were hijacked, there is only one way that they must approach this mission. Of course, Mao doesn't tell us, the audience, what that is. What a waste of a flashback. The Phantom Sweeps move in. Sure enough, the turrets are being used against them. Kamal gets his leg taken out by the turret while the team moves in and destroys it. That is when Hilda and some of the Invisible Knights team move in. Oh no, the Invisible Knights have the high ground. Bob whips out his heat lance. One Zaku grabs Jamie, and another tries to kill him while held down. Jamie ducks as Bob comes in. He uses his heat lance and makes a Zaku kebab. This G-line assault armor just makes me smile. He, however, misses the cockpit, and the two pilots bail. Meanwhile, a Heat Hawk flies right into the G-line's head. Bob bails out of his mobile suit and is out of the battle. Meanwhile, a Dom loses his arm to the Gundam. He is still protecting Kamal and his legless Jim. The Master Driver round is about to fire. They're running out of time. Kamal wants Hughes to go without him. The Dom whips out a heat rod and begins fighting the Gundam. The Gundam bobs and weaves with great speed. Hughes then slices off his other arm. The Dom pilot tells him not to get in the way of the Wrath of Varuna. Hughes puts a beam saber right into the back of the Dom. Rob is on the move when he runs into the two pilots that bailed earlier. He points a gun at the two and tells them to open a direct channel on his comms. The Zeon soldier goes for his gun. Bob tells him not to force his hand. Under 10 minutes to launch. Eric tells Filene to tell the rest of the team to get out of there. They don't have to die here. He says she is to survive and bear witness to what happens here. Bob tells the two Zeon soldiers to get out of here instead of shooting them. The Gundam approaches Eric's Gelgoog. They can't fire on the facility, but they can fire a precision shot at the gates of the mass driver system. They will use this as a last resort. Hughes says that there is no meaning to this fight. Eric says, "How dare you talk down to the Wrath of Varuna," and begins attacking. Hughes shoots the Gelgoog shield before he unleashes the beam Naginata. Eric tells him it is ironic that he is striking down the Gundam that Tatiana used. He means Sherry. He tells him to stop because that is what she would have wanted. Eric says that Hughes doesn't even know or understand her. 60 seconds until the mass driver system fires. The two mobile suits continue clashing with one another. Eric refers to himself in the third person and constantly says that he will take down Hughes. Oh my god, we get it already. Hughes can sense everything around him. We got ourselves a naked and vulnerable in a cockpit moment. Eric can't get a hit on the Gundam. Hughes then slices off the Gelgoog's hands. He gets sense Tatiana on Hughes' side. Eric doesn't get it. He thought the Wrath of Varuna was something that she wanted. Hughes leaves him to sulk and rushes towards the mass driver system. The Gundam slashes at the launcher. Mao tells him to stand back. The Thoroughbred fires its megaparticle cannon and hits the mass driver system. So much for doing no damage. However, the launch still goes off. Eric prays that the launch is successful. The captain of the Thoroughbred says that he is going to file a formal complaint against Mao for firing on the mass driver system. She was planning that the whole time. She tells Hughes and his team to pull back. The Phantom Sweep's mission came to a close. Eric Blank was apprehended and charged on multiple acts of terrorism. He has been sentenced to death. Alos of the Invisible Knights spy on Eric as he is being transferred. Mao and Hughes are driving up the coast. It's the early 80s. He's rocking that Top Gun Fetty look from Stardust Memory. Mao mentions that Hugh is actually alive. What? That doesn't make sense. I bet he dies in the video game. They stop at a random location while Mao stays in the car. Hughes goes to find Sherry. He is amazed to find her alive. So, did you just kill your brother on accident? Are we going to address that? The mass driver system's shot was off a single degree. That alone causes the projectile to miss the Earth completely. But it is now in Earth's orbit, slowly breaking into pieces. Sherry says now this is the real Wrath of Varuna. General Godwin ensures that Sherry will be taken care of. Mao hugs Hughes while the two head back to base. And that will conclude The Wrath of Varuna. But there is an extra chapter, so let's dive into that. Tatiana has changed her name to Sherry and made it to Augusta Labs as a test pilot. She hears word of Zeon's surrender, but she thinks it is all a facade. She is running tests on 7th Gundam. Sherry knows of the White Devil from the 1-Year War, which is the Gundam this is built off of. She runs a mobility test with ease. Later she mentions the balance and maneuverability is off. She thinks of ways that she can improve 7th Gundam, but then realizes she needs to focus on gathering intel for the Invisible Knights. December 26, UC 0079. The Invisible Knights are training before the Battle of Abaoku. Tatiana is still with them. She and Eric are going up against one another. Tatiana tells him that he is formidable, but he leans on his skills too much. It's easy to catch someone like that off guard. The story's over, so it's not foreshadowing. What is this, aftershadowing? Captain Semenang used the 7th Gundam with permission from Augusta Labs. She asks if she wants to have a battle in the simulator, but she declined. He then offers her to join in a mission with a special ops unit. Maybe this could give her info on the Invisible Knights. She is in, and the command tower is Mao. She wants to know of the name of this new test pilot. Later, Sherry destroys Semenang in a mock battle. Mai thinks she has what it takes to be a part of the Phantom Sweeps team. And that will conclude Mobile Suit Gundam Battlefield Record UC 0081, The Wrath of Varuna. I don't like that essentially Mao is the one to save the day and did the thing they weren't supposed to do. Not a creative ending. However, his comrades, and eventually Sherry, when he learns that she is still alive, helps him realize that he can't live in the past. Having Sherry lived brought back some hope and hues. Sucks to be you, Christo. I am curious as to what the game is like. Too bad it hasn't been translated. If anyone has played the game, tell us your opinion down in the comments. But that will do it for now, Newtypes. Remember, sometimes Fetties like Ko will be thrown under the bus for doing nothing wrong, all while Sherry, a Zeon spy, gets taken care of. I guess life isn't fair is the lesson here? Peace.